Okay, and now to cap off the show, we're going to give our review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which debuted in theaters this past weekend, and it follows Dr. Stephen Strange as he casts a spell that disrupts the multiverse, and he and others trained in the mystic arts struggle to repair the damage. And the biggest thing, or really the biggest surprise that I got from this movie was just how ambitious it is. It's ambitious, it juggles a lot, and it juggles it very, very well. And it does all that while moving at honestly at a very quick pace. I remember reading online that the pacing had received certain criticisms, but honestly, I love the motion of the story. I loved, it's very strong about the directions and twists that it takes and the pace that it moves at.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think overall, I enjoyed it. I liked it, but at the same time, the pacing, and again, it's like for me, the pacing felt fast, but it was fast because of what was happening with, how one of the characters was operating and just how quick this person was moving and everything. But overall, I think it kind of lost itself for me, at least, in a way where it just gets a bit bogged down a bit in the second act. The third act, certain conflicts and confrontations, I think just did not line up for me, to the point where it was believable, at least. I will have to give credit. This felt like the Marvel movie that, to me, it felt like three different ideas. It felt like Scott Derrickson's idea of what he originally wanted to do. It felt like what Kevin Feige really wanted to do, mixed in with a bit of Sam Raimi horror. And again, when Sam Raimi has the horror aspects in this film, it works. It works really well. And if anything, this is probably the most violent MCU movie they've produced, which again, I enjoy. But there are certain aspects that I just feel as if I think an extra 20 to 30 minutes honestly could have benefited the movie a bit more. And I think there were also certain characters introduced that didn't really hold a relevance to the overall plot, or at least what they were trying to go for, because it just felt like this back and forth of blaming Strange for something, and then they stop, or then they ask him again to do something. But it's like, you just blamed him. Why wouldn't you say this about him? Again, to me, it felt very messy, especially towards the end. America Chavez, I liked her as a character, but again, I don't think she really... It felt like too many ideas to the point where I don't think the multiversal concept for what they were actually going for in the story, even with one of the other characters, that the multiverse I didn't think was actually necessary to progress some of these dynamics and some of the actual plot lines that was also, and even character developments that were established before as well. And that's just me. Again, I liked it, but towards the end, if not the middle and afterwards, I was not feeling this movie at all. It lost my interest. To me, it felt like it lost sight in what it was trying to do and wanting to be. And again, it felt like I can understand, unfortunately, why Scott Derrickson left the project. Again, for me, I would have preferred maybe his original idea of what he was doing, what he wanted to do. But again, it felt like so many ideas were just combating each other that it kind of lost itself overall. And I think the multiverse was cool for them to introduce, but I don't think it really had any big repercussions as I thought it would be later on. It felt like this was almost a small phase of the MCU, but nothing bigger. I don't know. That's just me personally.
I mean, I have to disagree because I feel like what they did with the multiverse, it played two roles. Number one, of course, it showed the potential of what else, is out there, right? What else is out there, the other possibilities that are out there. But also, there's a theme in this movie of accepting our own reality. And I loved what they did with that. And the multiverse plays a role in that. And I don't want to give away too much because, I'm not, we're not going to do spoilers with this review. But the multiverse, plays a lesson in teaching, or plays a role in teaching that lesson to certain characters in this movie. And Doctor Strange is one of them. I don't think it's so much of a spoiler to say. Just coming to terms with how your life turned out, your life as an individual turned out, because I'm sure we could all look at things in our past and be like, oh, what if, right? What if, right? Pun completely intentional. What if this little part in my life went differently? like went in a slightly different direction, like what could have happened, like what if? And I feel like, no, like, it's enticing to always think about that, and it's tempting to get lost in that. But at the end of the day, your reality is your reality. And it doesn't pay to get lost in that, as tempting as it is. And keeping on what I was saying about, just like Doctor Strange, I felt like his character development was heavily influenced by that lesson that the multiverse teaches us. Again, because like there are certain, regrets that he has in the film. Again, not going to touch into this because like I don't want to get into, we're not going to get into spoilers. But I felt like the multiverse played a great role in developing him as a character, and just like him coming to terms with certain things that have gone on in his life. I felt like just like as a character, he was easier to root for this time around. And again, like just his development, I liked what they did. I liked how they furthered his development.
Okay, but yeah, like I said, for me, it's just it wasn't working towards the end. It kind of lost, and again, certain choices they did as well kind of got me upset a bit. But at the same time, it's like I was trying to understand certain actions or certain choices that some of these characters were making, and to me, it felt like as if they rewrote certain rules of the multiverse, considering another project they did. Like Loki, I think Loki established multiverse and everything, and it felt like they at least had somewhat of an understanding. And then with this one, it kind of felt like it got just a bit lost in its understanding of its own, of what they were trying to go for when it meant the multiverse and when it meant for even accountability to a certain extent. And again, it's like, I'm not saying this was bad. I'm just saying it didn't click with me for some of the explanations with certain characters and their power sets and how this affected one. And I think that it made a bit of plot holes, or less, not necessarily plot holes, but just certain characters that didn't seem as fleshed out as I think it should have when it came to certain actions they were making. But again, I think Elizabeth Olsen, we all know she's in this movie. She was my favorite part of the film. I will say that. She was my favorite part. She was great. And she was amazing. But like I said, it's like I liked it. And I'm not going to tell people don't see it. Go see it. Have a an opinion for yourself. But overall, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I had a good time. I laughed. But there are just certain things that wasn't clicking with me towards the end that I honestly tuned out, and that's just me.
Mm-hmm. And touching upon what you said as far as like the multiverse, there was one thing I will say. As much as I like the lesson that it teaches us, the certain rules with the multiverse like aren't always as clear with the appearances of like characters, if that makes sense. That's a little bit foggy to me, but I still like what they did overall with the multiverse in this film. And Elizabeth Olsen and her character, she is an incredible force. I'll say that. I don't want to give too much away in terms of like her arc and everything like that, but her arc, her motivation for everything, she was absolutely terrific. Wanda Maximoff, absolutely terrific. Everything that she did with this movie, why she does the things that she does, is just absolutely terrific. She was awesome, absolutely awesome. Performances overall, I gotta say, were pretty strong. There were a couple that I wasn't too crazy about. I feel like the actress that played America Chavez, I wasn't too crazy about her. There were other performances in this movie that kind of bugged me. Not gonna lie, but the incorporation of certain other characters, I really enjoyed. Exactly. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, no, this movie overall was a great time. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I think that's in large part too due to Sam Raimi. I thought he was, for what they were trying to go for with this film, I thought he was a terrific pick to direct this movie. I really did. Like you said before, or like we said before, this is definitely bloodier and more gruesome than most MCU films, which I felt was welcome. It felt enough like, like a Doctor Strange movie didn't feel like a total monkey wrench going in this direction. But this new and this really different direction that they went in with this, I'm like, all right, it fits, but it feels like its own thing at the same time. Like the horror elements of this movie and the camera movements both felt very much like Sam Raimi, and I felt like they were both very effective in what they were trying to do. Certain things felt like, a tiny bit campy, but that's all part of its style. It didn't really bother me so much, but I did notice it. What'd you think of the visuals in this movie?
It's like there's certain scenes again, and I guess this is where I also struggled, was some of the visuals too, where it felt too, not just CG-ish, but just it didn't feel as engaging as I thought it would be. And I guess that was also, that's also, I guess, one of my issues with it is that there are certain scenes and certain shots, I can't say where, but when you watch the movie, you'll understand where, that I was not too crazy about. And even, like, there are certain aesthetics I absolutely really enjoyed, I loved, but then other scenes and certain fight scenes, I'm just like, the visuals, some of the visual effects, it didn't seem right. It felt very unbaked, as you like to say it quite a few times.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like, it's weird, like certain visuals and certain scenes, like felt, I don't know if unrefined is the right word, I don't know if underdone is the right word. I think distracting is the word that I used when I was talking about this movie with my friends after. And it's weird, like, even though overall I like this Doctor Strange movie much better than the first one, the visuals in the first Doctor Strange, I thought were better than this one.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first one really had its own sense of what it really wanted to do visually, at least. Whereas this one, it definitely jumped around a lot. It definitely served, certain visual aesthetics definitely served its purpose, especially at a later date. But overall, I think, and again, this is where it's like, I liked the multiverse. I liked the idea of that. But for some reason, it wasn't clicking with me in this movie.
That's fair. And what I will say, everything that this movie does, or everything that this movie did, again, without getting into spoilers, and what it shows us for the future is just another reminder why we keep talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, why we keep anticipating everything that happens. Because I was talking about this on the car ride home with my brother and my future sister-in-law. Like, there are just so many moving parts to this franchise, to the MCU.
Yeah.
There are just all these moving parts, like all these things that are previewed and teased that just keep us hooked. Whether it's, certain characters being introduced, certain, cast members being introduced, that just make us feel like, oh my God, like, there's more for us to look forward to. And it's just such a massive, massive accomplishment that this franchise has done. Again, how many Marvel Cinematic Universe movies are there now? Like, we're definitely way past 20 at this point, right? And the fact...
Over 20. I think we're at 24, 25.
Okay.
Probably 25 at this point.
Okay, so, this franchise has as many installments as you and I have years individually, right? And we're still so invested in this. Like, I remember thinking to myself, like, after Avengers Endgame was done, right? I'm like, all right, like, what's really going to happen in the MCU now? And again, I'm not so much of a comic book fan. I really just watch the movies and the TV shows. That's all I really cared to do. But I was proven wrong by many of the installments that have come out after Endgame in 2019. It's, 3 years later, we're still talking about this. There's still so much that we're looking forward to. So again, this is just a massive achievement for everybody that has an active role in bringing this franchise to life.
Yeah, I loved Endgame. I really enjoyed Endgame. I prefer Infinity War, but I liked Endgame. And then after Endgame, for me, it just felt like the MCU reached its peak. And now it's kind of a bit stagnant. And Doctor Strange was the one movie I was really, really excited for. And the fact that I was so disappointed, at least for me, coming out of it, I am not looking forward to the other MCU projects. This movie made me actually a bit worried about some of the other projects in the works.
That's interesting.
That is just me.
I'm not in that boat yet. Well, I do feel like Endgame is the peak of the MCU so far. I feel like, at least with this movie and what they're teasing for later on, I feel like they're building up to another peak again, to another potential peak that could possibly be on par with Endgame. Again, not 100% sure exactly how they're going to get there, but I do
have
feel
my
like
theories, but
I do feel like they could get there, and we will have another Avengers Endgame like moment in the future, like we did in 2019.
Yeah.
So for everybody that got a chance to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, what did you think? Do you feel like it took on too much? Do you feel like, it handled everything that it tried to do? Well, leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can.